When you are being taught in school about success, right? What they fail to tell you about success is that there are going to be so many people that are hateful of your shit. And the more successful I get, the more envy I see in other people. And it's weird because I feel like everyone has the same 24 hours. Everyone has the same opportunities. Everyone has the same energy to go out there and be whoever it is that they want to be. So you don't have to look in the direction of somebody else and hate the way that their life is going, because it's really no limitation. It's no shortage of money or success or anything. It's more than enough of it to pass around. You just got to put forth the discipline to get things done and to just do and be whoever you want to be with so much passion and tenacity that you get to where you want to go. And so I spend my life telling people this, right? And what made me decide to write a book about it, own an opulence about it, was so people could improve and be better if they believed that they couldn't. Because the situation that I was in, a lot of women get in, and a lot of women have struggles with, and men too have struggles with, and they believe that they can't get out of it. And instead of putting the energy into becoming a better person, they try to harm the people who are doing better than them. So I rewrote my book, right? I rewrote it because the first time I released it, it was it had grammatical errors. It wasn't a bad write or anything. It was just had a lot of grammatical errors because at the time I was using Grammarly. And for some reason, Grammarly did not function properly with Google Docs, because that's where I write my books at, Google Docs. I don't use WordPress and shit like that. I use Google Docs. So Google Docs and Grammarly wasn't functioning properly. And I didn't realize this until after I had released the book. I went back to read it and it had a lot of grammatical errors. So I was like, okay, I'm going to fix the grammatical errors and re-release it again. So I took it off Amazon. But when I first put it on Amazon, right, a lot of negative trolls who were just hateful and shit decided that they wanted to come in the comment section and talk about how my book was poorly written, how I was a fraud, how I was a liar, how I was all of these things, right? All of this negative stuff, which is really their perspective of reality. It has nothing to do with me, right? Nothing to do with who I truly am, but it's just their way to vent about their frustrations about their own life. I can't sit here and continue to focus on people who haven't bothered doing enough self-care to be able to have the type of lifestyle that they want, because usually happy people or people who have something constructive to do not waste their energy following people on the internet that they claim that they do not like. And that's one of the things I see. A lot of people who come from YouTube, a lot of the people that are former people that I interacted with on YouTube who are toxic in general, for some reason, instead of putting energy into becoming a better person for themselves, they tend to put energy into stalking or harming people that they claim that they dislike. And honestly, when somebody's talking about how much they dislike somebody, it isn't that they dislike that person. They admire that person and wish that they could be like that person, but they feel like they can't be like that person. They feel like the only thing that they can do is attempt to destroy that person and their character and their reputation. I'm not going to follow some person that I don't like around the internet, right? I'm just not going to do it. And so anyway, inside of my book, I talk about how I used to rent vehicles from Uber and drive around. I'm not really a car person like that. I don't really like cars. I don't feel like I need to own a car. So even my personal cars, I lease. I'm a leasing person. I do not feel like owning a car makes sense. They depreciate in value. They're not a good investment. I just don't feel like it's a good idea for me. Other people like to collect cars and, that's what they like to do. But for me, I'm not a car person. I don't really like a car person. However, my Tesla, right? I love my Tesla. And the reason why is because it's good for the environment. You can charge it, it's just easy to deal with, and it's still at the same time, any car you see me in is going to be a lease, period. I do not own cars. Okay. I don't like bondage. I love freedom. And that's the point of having wealth and good credit. It's the freedom, right? So when I first wrote my book, right, like I said, it needed to be edited and shit. And so I wrote it, and by this time Grammarly had, upped their game, and it was easier to use them as a editor. And so I rewrote it. I snatched it off Amazon, and the comments that were on my Amazon the first time I posted it up was a whole bunch of negative comments from people from YouTube who was just being hateful, not necessarily because they read the book or they was trying to give me some type of constructive criticism. They was just being hateful. And so then when I put it up just recently, I think it was like a week or two ago, I put it up and I did a promotion to where people can go get free books. And lo and behold, the same people that was on the first posting of the book on Amazon, the same people from the first one came back and they're giving me 1 stars and putting negative comments like this one. Jackie Moon is the same troll with a fake name, no picture, not taking responsibility for what they post. And the reason why they do that, it isn't so they can keep their privacy. It's because they know damn well what they're posting is bullshit, right? But they post stuff like this on my book, anywhere I post. They feel like they got to follow me everywhere and post some shit like this. When I released my book on Amazon the first time, this same person came in and posted this same bullshit ass comment. And now that I have reposted a new book, rewritten a new edition of the book, this person has still posted this same comment, right? So let's go over this. Before I begin, please understand that this is one comment. I've sold thousands of books. You know what I mean? This is just one comment, because I also had my book on Gumroad. And so a lot of people just downloaded the ebook. And most people don't have anything negative to say. This is just, you can tell by reading this comment that this was made by somebody who didn't even bother reading the book. And even if they did read the book, they decided to lie on purpose about the contents of it. Okay? So it says, this book does not give you any information on how to become a millionaire. Instead, it's a long rant against her baby daddy that left her to die in a motel. She pretends to be knowledgeable about finances while living in a motel with a neglected 3-year-old. She rents cars through Uber and then pretends to own them. She's a fraud, a scammer with bad credit. She's a financial advisor with evictions and car repossessions on her credit report. Beware. Now, this type of defamatory stuff, this type of libel, slander and stuff like this is a tactic that trolls like to do all of the time. And again, they never post their real name or who they are because they don't want the consequences of some type of lawsuit or jail time for posting something like this if you put forth the energy to try to harm who they are as a person. You understand? I could easily try to figure out who this person is. Or, you know what? The person that posted this, please feel free to reach out to me so I can know who you are in real life. And that way I can go ahead and sue you for all of the things that you are saying to try to, make me out to be a bad person because you're trying to harm me instead of putting forth the energy to help you with your own life. So let's go over this comment, and I'm going to keep it a buck like I always have. All right. The name of my book is called Only Opulence: The Road to Becoming a Multimillionaire, right? That means that it's my journey, what I went through. It's my story on how I became financially stable or how I'm working towards becoming a multimillionaire, because I burned through $1 million goddamn dollars by mistake many, many years ago. So I'm talking about how I made that mistake and how I improved my finances along the way. Okay? So it's not misleading. It's not a play on words. It's flat out owning opulence, the road to becoming a multimillionaire, which means this is my road, this is my journey, and this is what's going on with my life. Okay? For those of you who want to know. So it's not misleading. It's not fraudulent. It's not, anything negative, but you just have to be an idiot to think so. If you an idiot, only a moron would see the title of this book and think it has something to do with something other than what the title says it's about. You understand what I'm saying? Then you crack open the book, right? You get to the table of contents, and clearly inside of the table of contents, clearly each chapter is about money. They claim that my book is a long rant against her baby daddy that left her to die in a motel. That's what it says, right? My baby daddy leaving me in a hotel broke, right, is the trampoline that caused me to move to California to begin with and start my life over. So I have to talk about what possessed me to even move clear across to the other side of the country. So I tell the story about my baby daddy because he is the catalyst for why I ended up here to begin with. I used my situation with him to improve my life. He was the reason why I ended up broke to begin with. So my experience with him has to be documented because it's important when it comes to the process of me becoming a better woman, a better mother. Okay, so I can't just leave out what happened between my baby daddy. And if you don't want to hear the story about it, that would make sense. But don't imply that me talking about it is some weird rant that isn't germane to my journey of becoming financially stable and becoming a multimillionaire. It's a process. You don't just close your eyes and then wake up one morning and become a millionaire. That's not how that goes. He is important to the story for a reason because the low child support payments that I received from him, I invested and turned into something positive instead of using it for chump change like some gas or something like that just to get some diapers or some food or something like that because it's not a lot of money. I put it into stock and shares. That's what I did. She pretends to be knowledgeable about finances while living in a motel with a neglected 3-year-old. Every time someone's trying to attack my character, they always try to attack my parenting or my mothering because they know that it's hurtful to those who are weak. See, you can't hurt me when you're talking about my son because I know I'm a great mom and I know I do not neglect my son. I take very, very good care of my son. Like, I love my son. And even when I'm not around, someone in my family is taking care of my son. Like, my daughter might watch him for a couple of hours while I go do some work if I'm working outside. Because usually I work from home. I am always with my son. It's like so rare for me to have a moment without him. You know what I mean? Like those little videos that I post on YouTube or on TikTok, that is a matter of an hour of me away from my son. Most times I'm with my son. I don't have my son in daycare. I teach my son myself. I have programs where I teach him coding. He knows all of his ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, colors, shapes. My son is the brightest. Okay, because I teach him. I'm with him all of the time and I do not trust another human being with my son. So I can't neglect my son if I'm always with him. If I was neglecting my son, I would never be with him. He would be at a daycare or at a school or something like that. But I am always with my son. And people always try to make it seem like I'm a bad mother because it would be more helpful for their false narrative about who I am to try to get people to not like me. You know, that's the type of tools that people use in order to manipulate other people into believing I'm something that I'm not. Inside of my book, I talk about how me, my mom, and my son lived in hotels when we first moved to California. And then I talk about how we went from those hotels and moved into a property and how I ended up owning a couple of properties. Whether I live in a hotel, motel, commune, campsite, tent, yurt, banana hammock swing, it doesn't matter because I'm not comfortable with telling anybody about my living situation because when I do talk about my living situation or I invite people into my home to see my home or to, just to experience it, my privacy is invaded. People are calling my neighbors, calling plumbers and pest control and shit to my house, sending deliveries I don't want, looking at my house on Zillow and shit like that. Like, it's stupid. So I'd rather not tell anybody where I live right now. My book is about how I moved from Atlanta to the home that I lived in when I was comfortable with sharing where I lived. After I moved outside that house, I have not spoken about it. So if you read my book, keep in mind that it's about a specific period of time in my life. And it's about when I left Atlanta, I was pregnant with my son, and then I gave birth to my son, and how we ended up in a house in under 10 months. That's what my book is about. Now, I talk about my history on social media and what it's like to be a social media personality, but not once do I classify myself as a financial advisor. That's something that this person put in here, talking about she's a financial advisor with evictions and car repossessions on her credit report. How would you know what's on my credit report? So you're stalking me to the level that you've looked at my credit report. So that means if you are in a position to look at my credit report, you're doing something fraudulent at your job. If you have access to my credit report and my personal information, the only way you would be able to do that is if you had a piece of my personal information because you are employed with a specific type of company that allows you access to that information, because you can't just pull up somebody's credit report without knowing their personal information. Now, this is also something I want everybody to understand, is that I changed my name. So even if you was to go look up my name, my old name, you wouldn't see my credit. You would see my old credit. You wouldn't see what's happening, with my new life. And I did that on purpose because I knew that people were going to take the time to try to dox me, Google me, just being extra. So all of my information is private. Even my child support documents with priests, I made sure to ask them to keep it private so that no one will be able to Google it and dox it and pull it up. And if they are able to pull it up, it's because they misuse their job. I've spoken about being evicted on YouTube. I've publicly admitted this. I was evicted. I think it was in 2012. I was evicted. And me being evicted is actually no longer on either of my credit reports because it was so long ago. Like my original one, it's not on that report at all because it was over 7 years ago. So it's nothing there. And even with it not being there, I was still honest about my evictions. So my evictions was 7 to 10 years ago, right? So it's not anything recent or anything. But I have spoken on my YouTube channel about those evictions before. I have videos up right now on my YouTube channel that talk about me being evicted and also my car being repossessed. I have a video on this channel where I'm talking about how I was doing a FaceTime interview with Derek Jackson. And while I was doing the interview, my car was outside my house being repossessed. I have a video about that. So I publicly talk about the negative things that have happened to me with my finances, with me not understanding how to juggle them properly or to manage them properly. I have said this, and I say this inside of the book. I talk about my issues with money inside of the book. So it's just how are you inside of my Amazon comment section telling people that I'm fraudulent? I'm hiding anything negative that's happened with my finances in my past. That's what I don't understand. Why do people do this? How is that classified as me being a fraud or a scammer? And not once have I said that I was a financial advisor. I am a life coach. I'm here to help you through your life. Okay. I'm here to give you some ideas and some advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I can only tell you about my life, my experiences, and what I did to help me change my life and to help you improve. Yes, I am very knowledgeable about investments, finances, and it's proof of that all over my social media. It's not like I'm just talking out the side of my ass. You can't pretend to be knowledgeable of something. That's either you know it or you don't. And the stuff that I post on social media, clearly I know something about finances through experience. So this is what I talk about all of the time. It's not something that you can pretend. You can't put on a facade like you have money when it's time for you to have a conversation or to show people that you have knowledge of money. Anyone who's been listening to me, you've heard me talk about stocks. You've heard me talk about NFTs. You've heard me talk about any type of investment or financial management. You hear me talk about this stuff. So it's not like I'm sitting here pretending like I know it. Either I know it or I don't. Please stop taking people serious who get online behind fake names, fake profiles, and they post information about people that's hateful or negative. Always look at them sideways because they're hiding for a reason. The reason why they're hiding behind a profile and not showing their face and not saying their name is because what they are saying isn't true. When you are speaking the truth and you have accurate information about somebody, you will attach your name and or face to it like it's nothing. Okay? And you will have some actual tangible proof that you can actually post. You understand what I'm saying? So here's my thing about everything that's posted in this little comment right here. If I was a fraud or scammer with bad credit, why would I have videos up admitting to evictions and car repossessions and bad credit, right? Why would I have this stuff up if I was a fraud? I'm flat out admitting these are the things that I did, and this is how I improved my life. This is what I changed. This is what I did. And honestly, I turned out pretty decent with me not having any type of real guidance from a mother or a father. Like, I talk about my mother inside of my book, and I also talk about how neglectful my mother was. She was good with introducing me to business and kind of introducing me to finances, but my mother was a bad accountant and my mother was a bad mom to me. Okay? So for me to become who I am right now, to where I'm in a better place than I was, is what I keep trying to explain to people. This is my journey. This is my story. This is my road. That's why the book is called what it's called. Again, if you read the book thoroughly, you will see it's a lot of entrepreneurial tips in there. It's a lot of finance tips in there, social media tips in there. I flat out talk about finances throughout this entire book. So it's not just about my road. I still am teaching people what I learned, okay, as an entrepreneur. And I learned these things through experience, time, like just doing it, trial and error. You know, so I'm not a perfect person. I didn't just wake up one morning and become this perfect person. No, there's still some shit I need to work on, of course. But the entire premise of my book is as follows. I was homeless, okay, and pregnant, and with barely any money. My ass left Atlanta and moved to California. And in under 10 months, I had already moved into a house. Okay? And it's people like that in this world who are going through things similar, but they didn't end up with a house and a car. So my thing is, there are ways that you can get houses and cars and money and good credit. And you don't have to think that you have to go through the situation that you in forever. That's the point of the book. And I'm surprised I have to explain that to people who are trying to be hurtful. Now, of course, I've reported all of these comments, just flat out reporting people, because the stuff that they're posting is just not accurate. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way that it's worded. You can tell this person is trying to be ugly and trying to be cruel. And people do this on the internet all of the time, all because someone's trying to harm me and not get people to read a book. Like, you really just don't want people to read a $16 book, something that's $9.99 on Kindle and cheaper most likely on Gumroad? Seriously? Like, how is it fraudulent? If you spending $16 on a book, you get the book. You get the contents of the book. If I was fraudulent, you would pay $16 for something and wouldn't get it. Amazon wouldn't send you shit. I just take your $16 and keep it pushing. That's a fraud. That's a scammer. And the fact that most of you don't know the difference and you just want to call everybody who's doing something better than you a scammer is just weird. They always try to do that with people who are financially in a good place or have started their own business or doing something valuable. You guys always got to find something negative about that person instead of finding the positive things in yourself and watering that shit and helping yourself grow. Focus on that instead of hating people. Stop wasting your energy trying to destroy other people. That's what's fucking up your own life. You fuck up your own life, your own happiness when you're trying to destroy someone else. It's just no point. So again, as far as cars go, homes go, people know how I feel about that. Number one, when it comes to housing, multi-family units. Invest your money into multi-family units. If you want a home, buy land and build your house on top of it if you want to buy a house for generational wealth. Okay, that's the only way you should get a single family home, is if you are buying some land and building a house on top of that. Okay? If you want something to live in, get a multi-family unit. You can even live in the multi-family unit yourself. Okay? That's how I feel about housing. All right? I'm not a big, maybe you should own your own single family home. I don't push that. I don't think that's a good idea. Number two, as far as cars goes, I lease cars. You know why I lease them? Let me be clear. I do not have a desire to just be hoarding cars. Okay? I only use cars if it's going to generate me some income. So if I buy a car, buy one, it'll be a collectible item. It won't be an everyday car that I drive around all the time. Okay? That's not how I do things. All right? The reason why I lease a car, whether it's through Uber or the dealership or whatever, I have more than one car. Okay, I don't have one car. I don't just have a Tesla. Okay, I have like 4 cars. I rotate cars. Okay, the reason why I lease a vehicle, and I've always been honest about this. This has never been a fucking secret. The reason why I lease cars is because I like fresh new cars. When they start looking old or they need maintenance or they start causing me problems where it's the brakes or the tires or the batteries or something like that, or maybe something happened to the windshield or something, I get rid of it and give me a brand new one. I like being in fresh, brand new cars. So when the car stops being brand new from wear and tear, I turn it in and get me a new one. I do not desire owning cars. Cars depreciate in value. There is no point in me having a car unless I'm going to rent it and lease it to other people on apps like Turo or Hire Car. If you look on my community tab, months ago, I was putting y'all on to Hire Car and Turo, where I was saying, if you have a car and you want to pay your note, rent it out on Turo. Rent it out on Hire Car. Okay? I do not tell people to own cars. Okay? So all of this negative stuff that people say about me, I think that it has nothing to do, again, with who I am as a person. If you want to get to know who I am as a person, get to know me through me. Because that's the only way you're going to get to know me, because people are going to tell you their version of you. And a lot of times their version of another human being has a lot to do with their perspective of reality, their traumas, and their disdain for that person. So they're not going to tell you who that person truly is. People who have experienced me in real life know how kind I am, know how honest I am, and know I would never fraud anybody. I would never scam anybody. I would never hurt anybody. I'm a very kind person, and I want for everybody to win. period. Everybody to win. I don't have anybody in my life that I feel like they deserve to not have a good life. Even my son's father. Even though I can't stand my son's father, and I do talk about his bitch ass in the book a lot, because he is the reason why my life has improved. Do you understand that? This man is the catalyst for what got me to California to begin with. Because had he not did what he did, I don't think I ever would have left Atlanta. Because I kept trying to convince myself that I would never be able to afford living in a place this beautiful. Had he not did what he did, I never would have been here. So I'm thankful for my experience with him. I don't regret it, because without that experience, I never would have had my son. And I love my son so much. My son is one of the best things that ever happened to me. He is also the driving force for why I do what I do. And that's why people try to attack my mothering and my parenting, because they know damn well how much I love my son and how much I care for my son. They know. So they try to make it seem like, oh, she's a bad mother. She's neglecting her son, trying to be hurtful. Oh, she lives in a motel. You don't even know where I live at. That's because I'm not telling you. Oh, she had bad credit. No shit. She said that. Oh, she's been evicted. Hell yeah, I've been evicted twice, motherfucker. Twice. Her car was repossessed. Ooh, y'all sound goofy. Stop being so fucking hateful and use that energy to improve your life. Good energy begets more good energy. That's why I don't like addressing a whole bunch of negative stuff all the time, because I feel like it's a waste of energy to me. Like, I got so many good things happening in my life. I can't keep focusing on this negative shit all of the time. I just don't have time for it. When I get on social media, I always have something positive to say. And even if I'm saying something negative about an experience that someone's having or I had myself, I still found a way to make that shit positive. Some type of way. So here's my message to all the haters out there. You can try as much as you want. You go ahead. You feel me? Because haters are going to hate. That's what y'all do. That's what y'all know how to do. But honestly, you could change your whole life yourself by listening to what I'm saying and actually applying it to your life. And once you apply that shit to your life, you won't have time to sit around and post negative things about other people. You would be out here creating your own content, doing something positive and helpful for your community that doesn't include you dragging somebody else. You don't have to step on somebody else to get to the top. There's no such thing as shortage, and there's no such thing as limitation when it comes to wealth and success. It's more than enough of it to pass around. So instead of being envious of somebody else, trying to figure out what the conspiracy theory is or the scam that they're doing in order to get where they're going, change your perspective of reality. Not everybody your enemy. Not everybody out here doing something bad to win. A lot of us are doing good shit, including me. I gotta go.